So today is day 6 of the identity challenge. And today we're talking about triggers. We all have them. There's nothing wrong with them. It's what we do with them that counts. It's how we process a trigger. It's what we look at. It's just biology. You're not broken. It's biology, not brokenness. And so as we keep giving ourselves the label of I'm broken and use descriptors that describe a space of brokenness, we can't get to the biology. It's biology, not brokenness. You're not broken. You're not messed up. You're not, all these things, all these labels and titles that you give yourself. It's just biology. And just like with anything biological, there's a process to maneuver through it, to process through it, to experience it in such a way that you can still experience forward progress. Good morning. Today's the 6th of December. This is day 6 of the 30-day identity challenge. I hope you have your sheets. I hope you're doing your homework. Yesterday, if you're on my email list, you got days 4 and 5. I will also send out day 6 after this. So you said, definitely trying to find my identity and not finding anything when I reflect, which makes me think I'm broken. You're not broken. You're human. You're not broken. You're human. What about him? Let me pause for a second. When you say, what about emotional and mental pain? Yes, all of that. I don't know a human in existence that doesn't have some emotional scarring and pain about things that happen. I've told my story numerous times. I grew up with 2 alcoholic parents. From the time I was birthed to the time they left the earth, they were alcoholics. They did the best they could, but if anybody grew up in an environment with codependent alcoholism, there was a lot of chaos. My maternal grandmother had mental illness, used to lock me in closets with the rats and roaches. I've had a lot of stuff go on. I have scars. I have trauma. I have experiences. I don't know anybody who doesn't have something. What are you doing with it? Is it the soundtrack of your life, or is it a story that you tell to show where you were, how you process through it, and where you've decided you can experience your life? I'm not minimizing anybody's situation, anybody's stuff. As a child, I had a lot of stuff go on. As an adult, I had a lot of stuff go on. What are you doing with it? It's biology, not brokenness. There's some psychological, there's some physical, there's some process, there's some thing that you can do with everything you have been and everything you are. There's something that you can do with it. Matter of fact, you are doing something with it. And when we can understand that a thing happened and now as the adult, I'm doing something with it. Well, we could just get that. Some stuff went down. As an adult, I'm doing something with that stuff. Kindness, report to duty. Kindness, it's time to end your coffee break and come on in. So this is day 6. It's biology. It's not brokenness. And so you might feel broken, but if you can even just say to yourself, the way that I process those things provided me with an experience of brokenness. But there's a way of processing those things that could provide me with experience of triumph. You just give yourself that. The way that I've processed these things invited this space of feeling broken. I can process it differently. That'll invite a new perspective. A new perspective will give me a new lease on life. A new lease on life will give me a new understanding. Kindness got called forth within the first 5 minutes. Kindness got called forth within the first 5 minutes. So today is day 6. Triggers. Let me tell you a quick story. Long story short, somebody sent me an email, and it was a sense of entitlement. You promised me this, and I should have gotten this. This person is not a person that's a paying subscriber. They're just someone who watches my stuff and who's on my newsletter. And they send me this long thing. You promised this, and where can I get this? And I need you to email me directly this. Like, you're getting all this information for free. This printout is free. And they want it in the time that they want it. Can you send it to me by this time on this time? No, I don't work for you. I'm on assignment. And so I started to respond with this email, this basically FU email. And I said, doing identity work, I said, what version of me would respond in that way? And then I said, the version of me who knows I'm on assignment, how would that me respond? And I just literally wrote it out. I said, this person is teaching me something. This person's growing me without even realizing it. And I sit down and I process through, and I recognize that the knee-jerk reaction is one identity. The thoughtful ask clarity-rich quality questions is another identity. Which one gets me to my desired end result? That pause, that breathe, that ask questions. P-A-Q. Somebody put in the P-A-Q. I'll put it in there. That pause. No, P-B-Q. P-B-Q. That pause, that breathe, that ask questions. When you do that, you give yourself enough space for the new identity, for the real identity, for the chosen identity to arise and greet the moment. If you just keep popping off, you're not going to rise and elevate. You're going to greet the moments with never mind. I can't wait to get in the lesson. Y'all, I was preparing this last night, and I was also watching TV, and as I'm writing stuff down, I was like, oh, and Dear was like, you okay? I was like, I can't wait till 7:30. No, I couldn't wait till 7:30. I got up this morning at 5:30, just because I'm excited about this. I'm excited to teach this. I'm excited to share this. I'm excited for you to experience this and shift your life as a result of taking the action. Pause, breathe, questions. So I said yesterday I was going to stick to one piece of paper, but I didn't. I got one piece of paper here, the printout that you all have, and then I got my actual notes that I continued. So, good morning. It is December 6th, and I'm excited, grateful to be here. I'm on assignment. I think we all have the same purpose, expansion, and then we all have individual assignments. My assignment is to plant seeds. These are the seeds. God will make them grow with you. All right, let me turn this around. Happy Saturday, by the way. I'm so excited today because I've got 5 one-on-one calls today, but in between those one-on-one calls, I'm going to be watching championship football, conference football. Wow, from Japan. Amazing. When I see international folks in here, I just pause because my voice is in places my feet may never reach. My voice is in places my eyes may never see in real time, but my voice is there. Woo! All right. So it's day 6. Identity triggers. What makes you shrink? When I gave you the example about that email, I was about to shrink and become and be yesterday Val, pop off Val. Kindness wasn't coming to duty. I didn't even call forward kindness. I called pop off Val. I called the previous road rage acting Val to come forward. And I'm not mad about it. The presence of a trigger is not the problem. The presence is not the problem. It's what you do with it that creates a problem state. So again, identity triggers. So I had the previous ones with me. So day 4, we talked, well, I don't have day 3, but anyway, day 3 was, I think, day 2 was the story. Day 3 was the language. Day 4 was emotional defaults. Day 5 was self-concept, self-worth beliefs. And here we are at day 6, identity triggers. Here's the science. Identity triggers are situations that activate an old version of you. You've got to start recognizing, oh, that's old me. When y'all get so mad, how do I stop getting triggered? It's not that you stop getting triggered. You can, but what you can do instead of having the all absolute, I can't be triggered, manage the trigger. When it comes up, say, oh, that's old me. That's old me. So identity triggers are situations that activate an old version of you. This happens because implicit memory. Read up about it. That's scientific. Triggers include being misunderstood, making mistakes, being seen, judged, pressured, asked to lead, conversations about money, shrinking. And so what happens? We shrink. We get in defensive mode. We start doubting ourselves. We're doing good. Everything's great. And then one little thing happened and we start saying, I don't know if this is the right thing for me. I don't know if I was really ready for this. I don't know if I made the right move. I don't know if I did this, that, the other. And then we start hiding. So we're doing content. We're doing 30 days of content. And on day 12, we get a troll that starts saying stuff. And then next thing you know, we're like, oh, I don't know. You start believing what they said. You get triggered into a state of when you were 12 years old and somebody told you that was dumb and you start hiding yourself. But you don't, instead you got to start asking clarity, rich, quality questions. Start with the first one. Wait, what am I making this mean? Because when you do that, you position you remember your power. Because I need you to know it's not what somebody says or does that hurts you or disturbs you or bothers you or makes you quit. It's what you do with what they said or did. So if you can get in the habit of asking this question, oh, wait. What am I making this mean? What am I making this mean? Somebody put in the comments, because when you get here and you start realizing it's an inside job, I for inside, I for inside, I for insight. What am I making this mean? Then you can start realizing and living in the perspective of the presence of it is not the problem. The presence ain't the problem. The problem becomes when, and y'all know last month we did this whole thing about problems. It's just a perspective requesting an NPOB, a new point of view. So when we think the presence is the problem, we don't allow ourselves a new point of view. What if the presence of a trigger is that? What if the trigger being activated is an opportunity for advancement? What if it's an opportunity for advancement? What am I making this mean? So in the sheet that you got your homework, and then you got some things that you got to do. I'm not going to go over that. You do it yourself. I'm just doing the lesson part. Let me, I think my light's about to blow. Bear with me just a moment. Whew, because we got a lot to do. I got a whole hour that I want to talk about. Look at this one little sheet, but I got a whole hour I want to talk about because a lot of us are living in this state of fearful of triggers. Fearful. They triggered me. If they stopped doing that thing, then I wouldn't feel triggered. If they stopped doing that thing, then I wouldn't feel triggered. Ain't no I in that. If they stop, you can't control what somebody says or does. If they just stop doing this, if they would disappear, you can't control their presence. How do you get the homework? Get on my newsletter list. It's free. Go to my page, go to my bio, click the Stand Store link, hit the newsletter. It'll send to you. I can't remember. There's one I'm sending you out, but then you'll get this. This week 1 has like 13 pages. You'll get this and it covers days 1 through 7. That's it. It's free. Normally the challenges are reserved for subscribers. But for December, I wanted everybody possible to be able to have access to the challenge. Let me turn this around so you see me and I'll get back to the lesson. Every month I do a certain challenge, 30 days, 21 days. And it's a PDF that the subscribers print out. And then on Sundays in our Zoom call, we talk about a lot of stuff and we talk about that. It's $20 a month to be a subscriber. This month, I wanted everybody to get this challenge. This is the once of the month, once of the year that I gift it to everybody, because I want you to walk. I want everybody under the sun to walk into 2026, not with a big vision board with no strategy, not with all these goals, but no inner work. If you don't have inner work, you're housing the enemy. If you don't do the inner work, you're housing the enemy. And I don't want that, because that equals frustration. And so I wanted this month everybody to have access to this, to go through the process of upgrading, updating, having awareness of your identity, shifting it so that in 2026, you stop saying, it's a new year, new me. No, it really is a new you, because you did the work. You did the work. All right. Let me turn this around. Seems like my light's gonna go, but that's okay. I got a spare. So let me turn this around. All right. So we talked about the definition of triggers. This is the homework. Again, print it out. You'll see it. But I want to talk a little bit about the notes that I've captured to give you a greater understanding of this. So again, the presence of the trigger is not the problem. It has an opportunity to invite you to access your power, to strengthen, the identity that you've decided that you are. So you have to be able to intentionally know this to grow through this. Let's talk about that. When we talk about your triggers, you got to ask yourself, this is part of your homework. I shrink when what happens. I pull back when what happens. I become a smaller version of myself when what happens. You got to sit there and ask those questions, because again, when you have to be able to intentionally know this to grow through this. This is biology, not brokenness. So let's talk about for observation. When you feel triggered, or if you feel triggered today, let me give you the PDNC. Somebody put in the comments PDNC. You're going to pause for 5 seconds. And I know somebody's going to say, but I don't know when it's happening. I don't know when it's happening. Well, then what you can do is at the end of every night, you can ask yourself some questions. Throughout the day, was there a moment where, I felt misunderstood or made a mistake or seen, or I shrank myself, again, you're going to assess yourself through the end of the day. And then so if you can't catch it in the moment, that's fine. At the end of the day, you're going to look at your life. You're going to look at what happened for that day. The more that you observe, the more you're able to catch it in real time. But you're going to pause for 5 seconds, describe the emotion, name the identity reacting, and then choose a new behavior based on the new identity. See, we're going to look at what is. We're going to recognize that we have a choice. And then we're going to make a decision and then act from it. We act from the decision. So let me give you a little bit of this understanding. So these identity triggers, it's not about the moment. It's about the identity that moment activates. See, somebody comes along and I don't know, they trigger you. They tell you that was stupid, or your boss talks to you in a certain way you don't like. The boss says something you don't like, or somebody says something you don't like, or you get home and you told so-and-so to take the trash out, the trash still there, or you're just tired, you're frustrated, and then here's one more thing. So you get triggered, you start popping off, yelling or mad or whatever the post-trigger experience is. You start talking to yourself, maybe this isn't right or what have you. So it's not about that moment. It's about the identity that moment activates. It's about the identity that moment activates. So the reaction to the trigger is your nervous system saying, hey, this situation matches an old story. So play the old role. Hey, this situation matches an old story. I was just talking to someone and they talked about how all of a sudden the boss has been acting ugly and saying things kind of flippant, not cursing or anything, but before it was good morning, now it's no longer good morning. And it was like, hey, why haven't you done this? And you say, well, I need it. Well, you should have got it, kind of being short with the person. And then this person told me, and I go home and I feel so small. I got so much pressure. It makes me feel so overwhelmed. I just I just feel like I don't want to say anything. And then what happened is she went through that, and then got defensive and popped off and lost her job. Instead of being able to say, okay, when the first time that happened, if you had a process where at the end of the day, you was like, oh, okay, I felt small today. That must mean I had a trigger thing happen. And that was my nervous system saying, hey, this right here feels like an old story. So I'm going to play the old role. She told me her husband used to talk to her that same way. So you got this memory, this implicit memory. You got these memories of what happened. And so in that moment, you became that version of you that was in that marriage for 10 years being dumped on. And there was a piece of you that's like, no, I'm not going to be dumped on. But you didn't process it in a way that experiences forward progress. You processed it from that old version of you. So the situation matches an old story, so play the old role. See, survival patterns activate faster than your new intentions. So when that thing happened, those old survival patterns activated faster than your new intention. And again, this is why I'm doing this. So you have this stuff so you can process through those moments. You can get in the habit of starting to recognize when it happens and then make the positive, healthy, forward progress move as opposed to the reaction. You can develop a response to this that creates the least amount of disruption in your life. The least amount of disruption. So conscious tries to grow, old tries to protect. The conscious self, the conscious right now you is wanting to grow through this. The old self is just trying to protect. Hey, that was some pain, like she described. It was very painful during that time period. So the old you wanted to protect. So the protect might mean, let me just get out of here. Let me just get away. Whereas the conscious level you was like, oh, okay, wait, this person is acting this way. What am I making this mean? How can I process this differently? Who do I need to talk to? Maybe I could talk to HR. Maybe there's other roles I can take on. Maybe I need to put this stuff in writing. Maybe I need to develop some type of routine in the morning. So when they're acting that way, I can not take it personal and start to build. If this is how it's going to, if this is the new change in the culture, then perhaps I can build me a 6-month exit strategy, because if that's how he's going to be, that's not an environment that's healthy for me. So here's some things that I could do. Because what you did was you quit that job, cussed them people out, acted a fool. You can't go for the 4 years you've been there. You can't use them as a reference. Now you got to do this. Now you're stressed out about trying to find something else. You see. All right. So when you're triggered, you're not meeting the present moment. You're meeting the past version of yourself. When you're triggered, you're not in the present moment. You're meeting that past version of yourself. That's why it's a trigger. It takes you back to yesterday. It takes you back to yesterday. And, what are you going to do with that? If you can just pause and say, wait, I'm not in yesterday. I'm in the present moment. My life has changed. I've changed. I'm different. This moment touched a wound. It didn't create one. It touched one probably. So how might I process this so that I don't bleed on my future? So I don't bleed out on my future. So here's some actionable steps. Again, pause, name the emotion, name the identity, tell the truth. I'm safe in the expansion. And then ask yourself, what identity would you like to show up in this moment? What are the behaviors of that identity? And then take a tiny action that supports that. Take a tiny action that supports that. Triggers lose power when you respond to them from the new identity, not the old one. The trigger loses its power when you respond from the new identity, not the old one. This is why it's important to know that they exist. They're inviting an opportunity for expansion. And I'm safe in the expansion. So let me check the time. Let me give you a real example. Let me go a little bit deeper. So a trigger ain't about the moment, as I said, but about the identity the moment activates. So if I've already given you an example of fired, I'll give you another example. Give me what's going on in your life that you got triggered. Let's make it real specific. You give me an example. Give me an example. So kindness. A trigger ain't about the moment, but about the identity the moment activates. So something happens, you get fired, you get cheated on, or better yet, y'all used to texting every day, and this day you didn't get that many texts. This day you didn't get the morning text. Or some situation like that. You didn't get that morning text, or there was an ambiguous Facebook post and it triggered you and made you feel some kind of way, as we like to say. Make you feel some kind of way. Okay, teens give you a bad attitude, they yell at you. Get ghosted by a woman I was interested in. Great. Overbearing boss. Someone asked me to do business services for free. Great. These are all great examples. Matter of fact, let me take a moment and screenshot them, because not only are they good examples, but I will do a separate video on every single one of these. Hold on. Let me screenshot every single one of these, and I will walk this process through in detail, as an example. But let me go on. So something happens. Somebody, a overbearing boss who took frustrations out on me. Someone asked me to do business for free. Teens gave me a really bad attitude. Let me see what else. I found proof of cheating. Hold on. Let me see. Let me copy that one too. All right. So something happened, and then a trigger happened. Now, again, a trigger ain't about that moment, but it's about the identity that moment activates. So let me go through these examples. So a teen gives you a bad attitude and they yell at you. Something happens. A teen gives you a bad attitude. The trigger's activated. You need to know the trigger tells you a story. The trigger's activated. And again, the trigger just means situations that activate an old version of you. So let's go with the teens. Maybe there's a version of you that felt like you weren't the best parent, or your parents were horrible and you don't ever want to be like them. Not horrible, but they did some stuff that you didn't ever want to be like them. So when the teen's yelling at you, some story came up, something about yesterday. So you got ghosted from a woman you're interested in. We know that in this environment, everybody wasn't raised with manners. Like, this is a fact. We know that everybody's not raised with manners. So somebody may say ghosting, oh, I don't see ghosting as a big deal. No need of me wasting my time. The ghosting isn't the issue. It's the story you told yourself. So a story came up and it hit that. Oh, I really cared about somebody before and they left me. An abandonment probably came up, something like that. You wouldn't be triggered if there wasn't some previous situation, circumstance, a wound that it hit. Overbearing boss who took frustrations out on me. I don't want to be the punching bag. Long time ago, I used to be the punching bag, and I used to not speak up for myself. I've developed to being more assertive. But when the boss yelled at me, it took me back to a day when I wasn't assertive, when I was a person who was afraid, when I didn't know my value, didn't know my worth. Someone asked me to do business services for free. That happened. So I got triggered because there's a part of me that feels like maybe I'm struggling with imposter syndrome. Maybe I'm wondering if my prices are too high, or if I'm doing this, that, and the other, or people aren't valuing my services. They don't value what I offer. And it makes me wonder, do I value it? I remember a time when I used to do this stuff for free and I was struggling. You better pay attention to the story that the trigger comes up. So when a trigger presents, let me get my note. When a trigger presents itself, you got to ask yourself clarity-rich questions, which is what that ain't it. Where's my piece of paper? Well, anyway, oh, here it is, which is what I said a moment ago. You ask yourself, what am I making this mean? I found proof of cheating. So I found proof of cheating. I was triggered. My heart was broken. I felt like good guys finished last. Or, I thought that this was the one, or I changed, or, I've always been good to people, and then here somebody's cheating on me. Whatever the story is, a story presents itself. So when you get in the habit of, when the trigger presents itself, clarity, rich, quality question, wait. What am I making this mean? What exactly am I making this mean? What am I making this mean? All right. So you think it's about now, you think it's about that moment, but it's really about the identity that moment activates. This is about the identity that moment activates. So the nervous system is reacting to a past version of you. That version who learned a story, built a role, and practiced a pattern. Check this out. So your body's saying this situation matches an old story, so I'm going to play an old role. I'm going to shrink. I'm going to freeze. I'm going to go silent. I'm going to defend. I'm going to shut down. I'm going to become smaller. Old role. So somebody cheat on you, and then you start saying identity things. What's so wrong with me? Why'd this happen to me? Am I not good enough? I gave you everything. I did everything. Why? You start asking those questions. Or do you say, it is obvious that what we set up, a monogamous relationship, wasn't in alignment with what you wanted. You didn't have the courage to say that's not what you wanted, or you didn't have the courage to come through with conflict resolution so we can process through things without inviting a third party. See, when something happens, we tend to go into I. What did I make that mean? Because what we're really saying, what am I making it mean? But the rest of that is about me. Because if we make it mean something about them, we can feel the hurt. We can feel the betrayal. But the hurt and betrayal are behavior-based things based on what they did. But when it starts to becoming I am, it gets identity. I guess I'm just somebody who can't have love. I guess it just wasn't meant for me. Am I not good enough? Is my work not good enough? Am I not a good enough parent? See, we go into identity, and that's where the real hurt comes in. When somebody said teenagers yelling, teenagers do that. Teenagers act a certain way. Teenagers rebel. So the big problem comes in when it becomes an identity decider. When it becomes an identity decider. So your body's saying, your body's saying this situation matches an old story, so play an old role. The old role comes up. Now here's the forward progress truth. The trigger hits. It's a cue not to play small, but it's a cue to notice the version of you being activated. So, this thing happened. I got some pain around this. I'm truly feeling something. Okay, what is it that I'm feeling? Okay. What version of me is being activated? We do not ask ourselves enough questions to grow. Questions grow you. I call that expansion. And guess what? Expansion's our purpose. And you don't just go through expansion through painful things as we described. You also go through them through wonderful things. But the questions is the difference maker. When I make a statement, an identity statement, it feels insurmountable. But when I ask questions, wait, what am I making this mean? Then I'm inviting a space of understanding for forward progress. So in other words, use your words. Use your words. This is an old identity, not the one I'm becoming. Name it, pause, breathe, choose the smallest action that supports your next level, the next level identity will take. So if you got cheated on and you know you're an amazing partner, you know you're a remarkable, wonderful, or you might know there's some things that you're not all that. You're not amazing, or maybe you did some things too. I will never ever justify somebody telling a lie because I'm a bad communicator and that gave them the excuse to cheat or whatever. I'm not ever saying that. But what I am saying is someone's behavior that hurts me, gives me an opportunity from a safe space to investigate me. But I'm not letting their behavior become my identity. I'm going to ask myself some questions. In what areas could I improve? See, you can't get to the questions if you're stuck in that trigger state story. Because when you start getting to the questions, maybe you can get some answers for expansion. And it's not going to happen the same day for most people. It's okay to pain. It's okay to be in pain. It's okay to be frustrated. All of those things are okay. You got to give yourself permission to feel whatever you're feeling. Somebody cheated, somebody ghosted you. I'm mad. I'm pissed off. I'm angry. The boss is talking to you crazy. I'm mad about that. Who the heck are you? I feel sad about that. I've done everything I can do, and this person is acting this way. Your emotions are okay to be felt. You got to be a safe space for it. That's just why I say name it. After you do so, just pause for a moment. Breathe through it. Ask yourself, what am I making this mean? Is this drawing back a previous version of me? Previous experience? You know, there's a saying, historical, hysterical, or hysterical, historical. When we're hysterical about something in the current moment, oftentimes it has a historical backing, a historical perspective. So the trigger's energy, it provides a spotlight. It shows exactly where you're still rehearsing the old role, the old identity. And it gives you an opportunity for expansion. If you take the opportunity. Sometimes we stay in our feelings so much and we say, I'm never going to be in a relationship again. I'm never going to do anything nice for them again. I'm never going to position myself to like somebody that's going to ghost me. I'm going to quit this job and start my own business. That way I don't have to deal with the boss. Then we start acting from fear instead of acting from expansion. We don't go into detail and ask ourselves questions, and we still might make those conclusions. We might say, you know what, it's time for me to start my own business. But we make it from the space of curiosity, from a space of expansion, not from the space of, screw you, I'm going to be better. Y'all picking up what I'm putting down? No, it's not about not making it about you. Somebody said, don't make it about me. No, it's about not vilifying the aspects of you that come forward. It's about not vilifying the aspects of you that come forward. So somebody does something. What am I making that mean? Because you're already making it about you. But what am I making that mean? Now I have an understanding, and I can ask myself even more questions to get clarity. See, when we were kids, we made everything mean something about us. Parents get divorced. I wasn't a good kid. If I had only been better, your mom, you bring home your report card and you got an A-. Why didn't you get an A+? Oh man, I must be dumb. Because that's the only way we could think. But as adults, we know that there's many aspects. There's many points of view. So yes, we can look at ourselves, but we got to ask ourselves from what perspective. We just want to get out of the pain state is what it is. And I'm telling you, when we can learn to stop squirming away and asking questions, we can get so much insight and so much clarity. So much insight and so much clarity. And if we have a safe enough space within us to process it for forward progress, as opposed to processing it as the judge, jury, executioner, making ourselves be terrible. I must be terrible that somebody would do this to me. Come on, y'all. That sounds like the 6-year-old whose parents are getting divorced. And they say, please, I'll be a better kid. I'll be better. No, that's them grown people stuff they did. They ain't got nothing to do with you. With kindness, you gotta be willing to say, okay, maybe I could be a better kid, but they still gonna get divorced. That's their grown up business. Now you can ask yourself, in what ways can I be better, and then define what better is. But if I do this, then they won't have this behavior. I can't control nobody's behavior. You can't control nobody's behavior. Can't nobody control your behavior. I got some pain around this big trigger. What version of me is activated? Questions help us grow. Yep. You got to be willing to ask questions. I learned a story, built a role, practice identity. What version of me? Y'all are getting it. Y'all are picking up what I'm putting down. There's something powerful when you write it out in your notes. Screenshot it for yourself and walk through it. Yep, I froze. I shrunk. I've been feeling small for a few days. Now I can work through it. I promise you can work through it. And you please don't vilify yourself for feeling frozen and feeling shrunk. It just means you're human. Again, it's biology. It's biology, not brokenness. It's biology, not brokenness. It's okay that you felt that way. Give yourself permission. It's okay. But because I felt this way, it also opened a door for me to grow. It's biology, not brokenness. Yep, emotions are okay. What would you ask yourself if people's actions left you feeling worthless? I would ask the same thing. What did I make this mean? I made it mean I'm worthless. Now for me, and this is why I strongly encourage foundational agreements, because there's nothing somebody can do that can steal your worthiness unless you make worthiness a conditional thing. So if I make worthiness a conditional, which means only if they treat me a certain way does that designate decide that I'm worthy. But if I make worthiness mean in all the possible things that I could have been birthed as, I was birthed as a human being with thoughts and words and feelings and possibilities and the ability to look at things from multiple perspectives. So, friend, for me, worthiness is a birthright. If I'm human, I'm worthy, period. So when you ask the question, what would you ask yourself if people's actions left you feeling worthless? I would ask myself, what makes me worthy? What makes me worthless? That's the question I would ask myself. And I would see, is this conditional? Do I want my worthiness to be conditional? Which means today on December 6th, I can feel like I'm worthy, period. But then on December 11th, if I don't get the sales that I thought that I would get, or if somebody says, hey, I was on your live and your hair was too frizzy and you ought to do this. Or if somebody says, I didn't get the lesson, it didn't make sense to me, or this. Or if I expected 100 sales day and I got 0 sales, then does that make me not worthy? Here, you got to understand, the privilege of adulthood is we get to create the foundational agreements upon the rock upon which we stand. I have an ebook I would encourage you to buy called 50 Foundational Agreements. I did a whole live series on foundational agreements also, because these are things that you make. These are things that you create. I'd rather create them that are empowering so that I know, think about it. If I know I'm worthy no matter what, it saves me a whole lot of time. I can hurry up and get into processing and creation mode as opposed to the mode of I'm not worthy. So what does it mean when you're quote unquote worthless? So that's a question I would ask myself. I am sad. So you've taken on the identity of sadness as opposed to this experience evoked in me a space of sadness. I'm sad about what the old me made this mean. So you've taken on the identity of sadness. I am, your I ams or your identity. See, when there's a behavior, there's a feeling, and then there's an identity. So this, when I made this mean this, it evokes some sadness within me. It evokes sadness within me. So then now the next question is, what else could I make it mean that would evoke joy, or whatever your opposite of sadness is? So you say, I'm sad about what the old me made this mean. Okay, what's the new me making it mean? If the way that I process this made me feel sadness, what way of processing this would make me feel okay about it? Get to okay. And then what way of processing this would bring forward joy? You get to ask yourself questions. You see that right there? That plaque right there? That reads, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. Yes, of course, we definitely misinterpret some others' behavior because of our story, our filter. Somebody doesn't text you after you text them and you say, well, I usually text back fast. Maybe they don't text you back the next day. You've got a story that you tell yourself about that. This is why we're doing identity work, because when I know who I am, that's my story. And that informs how I perceive people's behavior. That informs how I experience people's behavior. Doesn't change their behavior, but informs how I experience it. And I get to decide how I experience it. This is big difference in explaining. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm on assignment, y'all. Resonating good. Act from a space of expansion. Can we see the equations on the wall before you end your live? Yeah, you can see them right now. Matter of fact, they're for sale. Buy them. You can see them right now. These are, again, I'm changing my room around. So I just put them up, and I didn't even use my leveler. So they're crooked. That's okay. But this is forward progress is a space that I occupy. And so I know that it comes from decisions that we make. Here's the formula. The quality of your life is determined by your decision to prioritize forward progress. Of course, the number one, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions you ask yourself. This is one of my favorites. The quality of your life is determined by your talkback game to the ish. The ish is all the stuff that you say instead of saying, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I got done. Here's the progress I made. If you say, oh, I'm tired, or not tired, because tired is real. But if you say, oh, I got imposter syndrome, or I'm afraid that they might not like me, or this, that, and the other, and you met that reprioritize forward progress, it's ish. It's ish. That's a polite way of saying what I really want to say. Just go call it ish. When we're just talking about